Good morning. Wow. On behalf of the Chancellor, the Provost, the Council of Trustees, and all faculty and staff, welcome to UW Green Bay. My name is Gail Sims-Aubert. I proudly serve as the Interim Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs and Campus Climate. It is an honor to be able to share in this momentous occasion of you taking the first step in earning your college degree and for choosing to become a Phoenix. Diversity and inclusion are at the core of our mission at UW Green Bay. In your time here, you will see this commitment runs deep and touches all that we do. In keeping with this, I would like to share with you our land acknowledgement. We at the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay acknowledge the First Nations people who are the original inhabitants of the region. The Ho-Chunk Nation and the Menominee Nation are the original first people of Wisconsin, and both nations have ancient, historical, and spiritual connections to the land that our institution now resides upon. Today, Wisconsin is home to 12 First Nations communities, including the Oneida Nation of Wisconsin, Forest County Potawatomi, Ojibwe Nation communities, Stockbridge Munsee Band of the Mohicans, and the Brothertown Indian Nation. We acknowledge the First Nations people of Wisconsin. So these are truly extraordinary times in which you're beginning your college career. Never before have any of us experienced the events that have touched our lives these last 6 months. However, we must not lose sight of the fact that college is a time not only to earn your degree, but a time to explore your interest, become involved in clubs and organizations, and to find the place where you belong. Never doubt that you made a great choice in joining us here on campus, because even a pandemic will not get in our way of providing the college experience you've always dreamed of. At UW Green Bay, the opportunities are endless. I hope that you take advantage of intramural sports, campus events, and residence hall programs that will give you a fun and memorable out-of-classroom experience. Good luck as you start this new chapter of your lives. I am so very glad that you're here. Now please help me in welcoming Dr. Kate Burns, our Provost and Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, to share a few words with you.
Thanks, Vice Chancellor Sims-Aubert. It's so nice to be with you all this morning. I wanted to give you just a little bit of advice. You're probably getting a lot of unsolicited advice right now, so I'm just going to add just a little bit to that pile. So my first piece of advice for you all is to get to know at least one faculty member well. So that might be your first-year seminar or GPS instructor. That might be someone within your major, but you're looking for someone to be your mentor, your advocate for you. So this person is going to help open up opportunities for you in terms of internships, research. That person can serve as a reference for you if you're applying for an on-campus job, or if you're looking to go to a professional program, something like social work. This person is going to be a person who will be able to help you as you are on this exciting journey. And as you're doing this, I want you to think about this as a two-way street. So I want them to get to know, or you to get to know them very well, but also them to get to know you very well. So this might be you talking in class. This might be you going to office hours and talking to them and asking questions, but really thinking about that as that dialogue, as that back and forth for you. My next piece of advice is for you to get to know someone who is not like you. So again, that might be that professor, but hopefully someone else. So that person might differ from you in terms of race, ethnicity, culture. That person might be different from you in terms of sexual orientation, gender identity, religion, socioeconomic status. So before I was provost, I was a psychology professor. And psychology talks a lot about the contact hypothesis. And basically the contact hypothesis is really saying that to better understand people and to break down stereotypes and prejudice, we need to get to know people on an individual level. And so having that sustained close contact with social distancing is important for us to have with other people who are not like us so that we can better have that understanding, better have that empathy. So as we look to our future being this globalized world, employers are looking for people to have that great cultural competence. And so this is a great opportunity for us to get to know people who are not like ourselves in this college setting. My next piece of advice is going to echo what Vice Chancellor Sims-Aubert was saying, was to explore. So to explore both inside and outside that classroom environment. So inside the classroom environment, this is a great time to discover what you do like and what you don't like, right? So you've come here today, some of you might know what your major is going to be, some of you might still be deciding, that's okay. Regardless of whether you're in the decided or in the undecided group, I want you to use this opportunity to see what might be out there for you. So when I was in college a long time ago, I did an internship at the Juvenile Public Defender. And as you can see today, I am not a lawyer. I did not go to law school. And so I think it's equally valuable for us to also figure out what is not in our wheelhouse, what we are not interested in, and doing and engaging in those exploration experiences are really important in being able to do that. So, take an interesting class outside of your major. Our general education program can be a great window into some courses that you had never thought about taking, but that as a way to explore what some other interests might look like. Also encourage you to explore outside the classroom as well. So student organizations, we call them student orgs, are a great way to connect with other people, to learn more. Our programming that we have on campus as well, lots of great opportunities. So I'd encourage you to take advantage of those opportunities. All right, so my last piece of advice isn't so much of an advice, but just to try to give you some guidance here. So at some point, if you haven't felt this way already, at some point in your journey along the way, you might feel like this isn't for you. You might feel like, why am I here? I don't belong here. This is a mistake. Why am I here? Why did this even happen? So again, I'm going to turn to the world of psychology and say, we talk about this in terms of imposter syndrome, kind of feeling like we're an imposter and, how did I end up here? I feel like a fraud. And so the important thing to note is that people don't talk about this, but this is something we all experience. This is something that I experience at times in my own life as well. So if you are having these feelings at any point, recognize that this is a completely normal experience, that other people are also experiencing it, just not talking about it. And so this is a great chance for you to connect with your resources. So whether that's that faculty member that you got to know, whether that is your peer mentor in your first year seminar or your GPS class, whether that is your residence hall assistant if you live on campus, the teaching and learning center, someone in your student org, find who that resource is going to be, talk through that, because we are committed to you. You are committed to a higher education. You belong here. We are here to help. So just know this is a momentary bump on the road that we all experience, and we would love to welcome you here, have you stay here, have you thrive here with us. So that's it. That was really my shortest lecture ever. It could definitely have been longer. You're going to experience some longer opportunities here. But in terms of all of this, we're so excited to have you with us, both in person and online, just like our classroom this fall, right? The in-person and the online experience. So with that, I am so pleased to welcome our keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker is Renita Robinson, and she comes to us from the YWCA Greater Green Bay, where she is their Chief Executive Officer. Renita has served women, children, and low-resource individuals for over 30 years. Formerly licensed as a graduate social worker and 6th through 12th grade English and social studies teacher, Renita has been an advocate, educator, and supporter for the homeless, victims of sexual and domestic violence, and individuals marginalized through a variety of oppressions. She holds a master's degree and has completed all the coursework for a doctorate in teaching and learning at the University of Minnesota, Duluth. So I am so excited to turn things over to our keynote speaker, Renita Robinson.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm getting my timer on. Chancellor Alexander, to the Provost and the interim Vice Chancellor, and then to all of you all who have decided to come and listen to my raspy voice. I am so pleased to be here. When they said thank you, I said thank you, because it's not often in the busyness of the day that you get to reflect on when you got your start. And so they asked me to do a couple of things, and I said, I think I can do that. And then as I reflected and started my process, I was like, whoa! So I was charged with bringing this much information and reeling it in and distilling it down to about this in 15 minutes. And I'm like, okay, that may be the hardest speech I've ever had, right? But I'm up for it. And so I'm so grateful to be here. And I think that there are tons of things that we can reflect on. And it's my hope that in 4 years, perhaps they have me come back and you can reflect on one thing that I either challenge you with or that I gave you a different perspective of today that sets you on a course to success. And so I was offered a few things to think about in my preparation. One, what does a young person starting college need to think about? And as I started to have my mind percolate on that, I was like, well, it depends, right? It depends on who the person is. It depends on the reality that they're bringing into the new experience with them. It depends on the history that they have that walks in with them into every classroom. Another thing, well, what are the current issues that they'll have to manage and deal with as they move into the year? Well, that's an easy one, right? Because we're sitting here socially distanced in a facility that holds several thousands, and we are pulling all of this down to about 50. And so that is one of the issues that we are going to have to manage. It is one of the opportunities that we are going to be given. It's going to be one of the obstacles that we're given to make an opportunity out of. And then lastly, where does hope lie for these students and how can they make a difference? Oh my goodness, that was the good part, that I was charged to talk about where hope lies and what you can do to make a difference, because all of us matter. And so what I decided was I would kind of do my go-to presentation, and my go-to presentation is actually built on an acronym called MIRROR. And so I use the word matter for the M, important for the I, relationships for the first R, reframe for the second R, and you get a 2-4 in the O. Anybody guess what the O is going to be? Yes, that wasn't rhetorical. What's the O probably going to be in my MIRROR acronym? Anybody? Opportunities! All right, good job. All right, so we have opportunities, and then the last thing is actually resources. And so I remember working in student affairs, and I recognized that I didn't know how much I mattered, right? And so I want to tell you all today that whether you thought about it or not, that when you got out of your bed and chose to come down here today, that you changed my life. How many people woke up this morning wanting to be a life changer? Not many of us kind of use that as our frame, right? But whether we choose to or we are not, if it's passive or if it's active, we get to matter in a way that we change people's lives. I'm excited about that every day. I am the CEO of the YWCA of Greater Green Bay, and we have a mission that is dedicated to eliminating racism, empowering women, and promoting peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. And I am psyched and feel privileged that I get asked to say something that might be worth listening to. And so you matter, so don't forget that one. The next thing is, don't forget that your history is really important. The history that you arrived into this arena in is important. And all of us, we have these stories to tell, right? Olga Davis said, we have stories to tell. We have stories of our experiences. We have experiences that are our knowing, and we have our knowing that sometimes is our struggle, and sometimes our struggle is our survival. And our survival eventually becomes our strength. There are times when we enter into activities that are the right thing to do or the prescribed thing to do, and we do it because it's that. And on the other side of it, we realize that we garner strength from it that we never thought was possible at the onset. My encouragement to you all is to be thinking about the next day and the next day against the backdrop of it being this amazing, amazing opportunity. Relationships, the first R. Tim Ferriss says that we are the sum total of the 5 people we spend the most time with. Sometimes we don't recognize that we're choosing, but because sometimes they're choiceless choices. We don't get to decide who's in the class with us, right? But we get to decide who we go to lunch with, or who we spend an evening with, or who we spend a weekend with, or who we volunteer with, or who we let sharpen us, who we have conversations with that make us better or make us worse. We get to choose those relationships. And your relationship will absolutely determine your altitude. Absolutely, unequivocally. If you ask any of my folks on the that are sitting behind me, they will probably nod. Yep, relationships will do it. And that is your partners, your friends, the person that you decide that you want to have mentor you. All of those relationships are key to your altitude. And so as you're thinking about altitude, I want to give you a little nugget of truth. Reframing things, the power to reframe things, just switch. The power to just think about something differently and reframe it is your superpower. We didn't, any of us, choose to be in the situation that we're in. A year ago today, it was not just a thought in my mind that my life would be turned upside down, right? I didn't know that I was going to have the corona obstacle to fend against every single day, managing the staff that I have and the people that I'm responsible for keeping safe in my building, or having to be distanced and away for longer increments from my children and my granddaughter because of the travel kind of strain and that kind of thing. You know what? But it's incredible is that it has become this opportunity for me. So I get to look at it either as an obstacle and be grumpy about it, but I don't really like to be grumpy, and I have control over that. And so I look at it as this opportunity. I reframe it, and it becomes an opportunity. And so I bled into actually my next two for I had an opportunity, and then it's actually the obstacles. Every obstacle, if we reframe it, is turned upside down, and it actually looks like an opportunity. And that becomes the good part. Because if you keep living, I guarantee you will have more opportunities to reframe obstacles than you care to think about, right? We just can't predict the things that are going to happen to us every day. Who knew that a gentleman who was off course in his life would make one bad decision and end up in a situation that would change the course of America, that would change the course of a conversation that's happening about racism across the world? There was an obstacle, and it became an incredible opportunity. It has been reframed as an opportunity. And so this pandemic, yes, it's an obstacle. Yes, it makes going to class a little bit more challenging. Yes, it makes your picture of matriculation feel a little bit more difficult. Yes, it dumps a whole bunch of stuff in your psyche that you have to tend to, but it's also an opportunity. And if you reframe it and you see it as an opportunity, perhaps you recognize that now your issues about finance in college has been gone away because you have so much free time, you're going to graduate sooner than later, right? Perhaps you look at this pandemic and you go, you know what? I am going to have an occasion to go deeper in some of my studies than I ever thought I was interested in going, right? That's an opportunity that's reframed out of the obstacle of this pandemic. Maybe I don't have so many distractions and my grades are going to be better. Maybe I have free time to think about people who, if I was doing the stuff that I do when I'm free to be social, that didn't allow me to think about people less fortunate than me. This pandemic is certainly a minor obstacle, but it is a fabulous opportunity for all of us that decide to use it that way. And so last is the resources. The last R that I'm going to talk to you guys about is the resources. Really knowing yourself. Every day I make it a point to really ask myself questions about how I'm feeling, how I think about stuff. Why did that make you grumpy like that? What are you spinning about? Like every single day I get just quiet enough to reflect on really what makes me happy. And in the quiet stillness of that reflection, I recognize that there are resources all around me that have been put in place for the benefit of directing me to the best version of myself. UWGB is a fabulous place for having resources at your disposal to help you if you get confused about the direction you're headed, about what you need to go to the next step for remedying issues that you didn't know that you had. Like I worked in student affairs for about 5 years, and I didn't realize how much I mattered. I didn't realize that people that if I didn't show up, people missed me. I didn't realize that some weeks that I was stood in between a student saying, I'm not coming to school ever again, and saying, I think I can do it for today. Some of you all are that same person. Some of you all matter that much. Some of you all are a resource and you don't even know it. Because whatever you believe about yourself, sometimes it's not true. But if you know yourself, you will get into a situation where you will be able to look at your reflection and recognize whether you're in the mode of being the best version of yourself or not. And if you find yourself not being the best version of yourself, there are tons of resources on this campus that have been cultivated with you in mind. There are tons of resources on this campus that have been designed to make you sure you have what you need to be successful, to have what you need to make sure that the deficits that you may have come to this situation with are rectified and that you can go forward and you can do the next thing. And regardless of whatever you decide and the choice that you make about it, rest assured that you matter in the lives of the people around you. And that if you had chosen not to show up today, or if you choose not to show up as the best version of yourself tomorrow or any day, it matters. So I want to encourage all of you. Like I had a plan to do a bunch of things and I was like, yeah, that's probably not good with social distancing. So maybe not, I shouldn't do that, right? And so I want to just for a second, I'm doing a cost and benefit analysis. Did you guys see that thinking? Like it should have been smoke coming out of my head, right? Because I was doing a cost and benefit analysis, and I'm going to take the risk. Chancellor Alexander, please forgive me if I have violated a protocol. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to just laugh, right? You have your face masks on, so I think we're okay. But I'm going to give you an opportunity to, in your mind, think of the thing that makes you the happiest you've ever been, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to laugh. And when you laugh, I want you to breathe from your toes, and I want you to let out a laugh that in other circumstances you'd be embarrassed to let out, right? And then I'm going to tell you why. So on 3, we're going to breathe deeply. So it's going to be a deep, oh my goodness, that may not be a good, yeah, I have to pull your mask out like this a little bit. But you're going to breathe deeply, and then you are going to let out a laugh that you haven't probably done in a few days, okay? All right, so 1, 2, 3. Oh, some of you are catching on. Absolutely. Can we do it just one more time now that you guys know that it wasn't a real trick, right? On 3, deep breath and then a huge laugh, okay? 1, 2, 3. Right. I want to encourage you that all you need is a mirror. All you need is a mirror to be reminded of how much you matter, to be reminded that your relationships, that your history is important, that your relationships can make the difference between where you are and where you're going, that you have the capacity to reframe things and look at every obstacle as an opportunity and then activate the resources that are at your disposal, and it will move you to be to the best version of yourself. In 15 minutes, I didn't go real deep on a lot of things, but I guarantee you that if you initiate just a couple of the things that I've suggested today, that you will start to see that this pandemic may actually have been a gift that Sheila Walsh says comes to us, and when we open it, it makes our hands bleed. She says sometimes God gives you gifts, and when you open them, they make your hands bleed. And that's an ugly picture, but it's a fitting picture of the obstacles that we get to reframe as opportunities. This isn't easy, it's costly, it's inconvenient, it's a lot of things. But on the other side of this pandemic, if you take the time that has been freed up by this pandemic and considers others and think deeply about the status of this country and where we want to go as a nation, we will go down in history as a generation that changed the world. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you for my hearing.
Let's give one more round of applause for Renita. I will just add that one of the great things about coming to a school like Green Bay is the resources you have, not just at the university, but the resources you have in your community. And we're very fortunate to have a resource like Renita here in Green Bay with us. It was a great honor. I got to go meet with her and tour the YWCA this summer, and to see the work they're doing is really inspiring. And I encourage you all to think about how in your communities you can make a difference like she is doing. It's very inspiring to get to have her here and to hear her speak. So thanks very much to Renita. First of all, I'm Mike Alexander. I'm the Chancellor here at UW Green Bay, and it's great to welcome you here. And I thought a little bit about also what I would say in a few minutes and then take your questions. I think it's important in a convocation that we both give a few bits of our ideas and also hear what you want to ask, right? So we'll take a few minutes and get your questions, and hopefully if you have a question, hopefully that will help all those who are listening online or those who are emailing in to be able to answer those as what we're doing as a university. You're coming to UW Green Bay despite a pandemic. You're coming to UW Green Bay at a time where the university has tremendous momentum. We're really proud of what we're trying to accomplish as a university, and we're really proud of the way we're trying to get there. And so I want to really extend my warmest welcome I can to you and hope that you have a great experience here. I want to talk a little bit about the origins of this university for just a second. So UW Green Bay is a relatively new university. It's just over 55 years old, right? That sounds kind of strange, but that's really new for an institution. And it was founded in a really radical way. Okay, so it won't sound very radical to you right now, but back in around 1955 or 1965, sorry, this was quite a new idea. Right? It was founded on the idea that you would solve problems. Right? The reason why you got an education is because you wanted to solve problems. Right? It was founded on the idea that you should think of problems in an interdisciplinary way. In other words, you should think about how multiple parts of the world combine, right, to solve a particular problem. And for a while, I think that the university was even organized that way, right? But I want us to think about carefully about what that means as you start your university experience. Right? So you're going to choose a degree. That's for all of you are going to choose a degree, right? That's important, right? So at some point you're going to decide what your major is going to be. And what I would tell you is, as important as that major is, all of the other things you're going to get inside of the university are going to help inform what you do once you start your career. We know that in the modern world, you're going to change jobs many times. Okay? I will tell you right now, if I asked Provost Burns, and if you asked me right now if I thought I was going to be a new chancellor this year and talking to you in the midst of a pandemic and welcoming you to campus, I would have told you you're crazy even a year ago. So what you need to do is to understand that as to build again on what Renita is saying, is you never know when opportunity is going to arrive, right? You don't know. Right? But if you come to the university with the idea that you're going to expand your view of the world, right? You're not going to come here to try to reaffirm what you already know, right? But you're going to try to come here to think about things from a different perspective, like Provost Burns said, right? You're going to come here to meet people you wouldn't otherwise meet. Right? You're going to come here, right, because it's going to be able to transform not just the skill that you have, but the way you think. That you could think deeply. Right? And I want to say just a few more words about that. How many of you have one of these? Okay. Right? Okay. So, in my opinion, the reason you come now to university has changed. So when we all went to school, you came to the university because it was the only place you could get knowledge. Right? If you want to know something now, how do you get it? Yeah, you Google it. Right? You just pick up your phone and you say, I want to know this. It tells you instantaneously. Believe it or not, you used to have to walk to a library, find a book, and look it up. As shocking as that is. Right? Okay, now it's instantaneous. You have the information at your fingertips. So why would you go to a class? Why would you come to a university? Right? My opinion is because it makes you human. It helps you to understand the information that's on your phone, put it into context, and know how to use it. Okay? It's not just about having information. Right? It's being able to take the information you have and make a difference with it. So I want to talk to you just a few more things, because I have a couple minutes before we take the questions. I wrote a few things down today that, and I always seem to go off script. So I will say that in these times, I want to encourage you to persist. Okay, so again, what Renita was talking about, you have to persist. So the greatest things in life come for the things that you work the hardest to get. When you get over an obstacle, it's that much sweeter when you get to the other side. Persist. No matter what comes your way, persist. As I mentioned to the group last year when it was here for the first time at Green Bay giving a quick talk, I would encourage you to fail. Okay? And I would encourage you to fail often. Right? If you're not failing, you're not trying. Okay? And I would say this, that when I was in school, my goal for a long time, certainly when I was in high school, was always to get a 90. right? I figured I had achieved. I did the least amount of work possible to get an A, and I could move about, right? Keep going. What I learned later, right, is that the grade that you get in the class does not matter. It doesn't matter at all. Right? I can't say this as chancellor, but if I had my way, we'd do away with them. I can't do that. But the grade is just a reflection of how curious you are. Right? Can I say that one more time? Right? The grade is just a reflection of how curious you are. The more curious you are, right, you'll get fine grades, and you'll be able to really fulfill the goals you have in your academic career and in your career and your goals for your career, right? So be curious. Be curious. Be curious about all things, right? Don't just look what's in front of you. Look to the left, look to the right, look up, look down. Notice what's there and try it out. Every single thing you could try that is new, do it. Fail at it, right? Go back and try again. Over and over and over and over. Repeat that process. Okay? Repeat that process. Right? Have courage for the things that you mess up to come back and do them again. Whoops, sorry. To do them again. The other thing I would tell you is, just to be, since I'm talking only to about 800 or 900 people here, you are, I would assume you're a little scared. If you're not, you're probably not human, right? Everyone gets scared as a freshman when they come to college. But I will tell you, I feel the same way, right? I wake up every morning, right? I wake up every morning and have to sort of to know, right, that there's going to be things I'll have to face each day, right? And I'm going to do it the best I can with the most integrity I could do them, right? And with the most courage I could do them as I go through my day. I know that Provost Burns, Vice Chancellor Sims-Albert, Renita, right? Every day we start our day, right, with that idea. Right? So do it. Know that everyone else is feeling that feeling and persist. Persist. In life, right? Although it feels it should be this way, right? Everyone feels that when you look at what you do, that your career and your educational trajectory looks like this, right? That it's a straight line that goes up. And I could tell you that in most cases, it's a line that goes like this, right? And as long as the overall trajectory of the line is going like this, you have to enjoy the parts that go up and down. So, with that, I would tell you that we are so thrilled that you are here. So thrilled that you are here. We want you to be proud of your university. When you're in your classes, as Provost Burns said, please engage. Talk to your professors. Right? Be curious. Right? Do something not just because you've been assigned to do it, but because you're curious to know it. Or you're curious to find out more about it. Right? Have a good time. And please have a good time 6 feet apart. Okay? Be safe. Be safe, right? So that we can keep moving forward with our education this year and in the way that we've got it planned. Right? It's really thrilling to get to be with you. And for those of you who are watching online, it's great to see you as well, even though we're not seeing you exactly in person in front of us. But we feel you here. So with that, I think we have some questions and we'll take those and then go from there. So Megan?
So if you have a question and you're in the live audience, you can raise your hand. If you are watching the live stream, you can type your question into Teams and we will get to it, or you can email it to osl@uwgb.edu.
So anybody in here want to ask a question while people are emailing some in? Yeah. I think the question was, what are student organizations going to look like this year? So they're going to look a little different. All right, so they're going to be done all, I think just about every student organization we normally have will still be occurring. The only difference would be is that they're just going to be done with the safety guidelines we have in place. Right? urge you all, if you have not already considered being in a student organization, to do so. Right? It's the fastest way to feel at home, to get involved, to meet people, right? And to feel like you're welcomed in your college experience. Right? So if you've not already thought about what a student org you want to be in, I encourage you. Maybe we could set the goal that this freshman class would have 100% attendance in some kind of student org. I think would be an amazing thing. Right? Learn, because you're going to learn as much in that as you are going to learn in your classrooms. Right? Learn outside the classroom as much as you learn in. Other questions? Yeah. So they're still going to have an org smorg, which is hard to say with the mask. So they're still going to have an org smorg. We will still have an org smorg, and that's just going to happen online, I believe. Is that correct, Gail? Or is going to be some in person? Yeah, it'll be virtual next week. So I think more information will come out soon about how to use the org smorg to find out which student organizations you want to join. Other questions? Don't be shy. Oh, there you go up top. Okay, segregated fees is a question I know we get a lot these days. So let me talk to you a little bit about the reason that you have segregated fees, okay? So the segregated fees can cover lots of different things, right? They're not just for what you traditionally have used those fees for, okay? So those fees, first of all, sometimes cover the salaries of the people who provide the student experience that you get. Right, so in every case where you're paying those student fees, those fees have been switched to make sure we could provide for you the kind of experience that you want to have as a student, right? So that we can, even though for example, take intramurals, right? We can't do the same intramurals we've done in the past, so we're going to do different intramurals that we can do safely right now. We've shifted that fee to be able to fund those things, right? That's one example. The other one I know that has been difficult for us to navigate is the fee that we use for online education. Okay, so we used to, if you took an online course, you used to pay a fee that was, I believe, was $100. Is that right? No, now it used to be $25 a credit. It used to be $25 a credit, so $75 for an online. We took a 3-credit course, and we switched that now so that the cost per credit is $12.50 per credit. So it's half the cost of what it used to be. Right? That's because we still have the cost of delivering online education to you, but we know that everyone did not want to take online classes that is taking them this semester. Okay, so we tried to lower it for everybody to try to make it as fair as we could across the board. Right? No perfect solution here. There was no way we can do this in a way that was not going to be unfair somewhat to someone. Right? So we did our best to try to make it as affordable for everybody as we could. Right? And on the online piece, I will tell you, to please, that I know, for us on this side, as we, when we started in March and we made the decision to go to alternative delivery, at that time, everybody was telling us we need classes in person. As we went through the semester, we got a ton of students who came back to us and said, wow, I never felt as connected as I did in my online course. Right? In this particular course, it was a really great experience that I had with that. So I urge you to give it a chance. Right? Remember that our faculty in the spring had 10 days to switch everything they were doing from the way they planned into online delivery. Right? For the fall, they've certainly had more time. Okay? So give those online courses a chance. Right? Engage, right? Just, you all are very comfortable, I know, on your phones. Right? And being able to communicate that way, it's an opportunity for you to engage differently, right? Until we're able to get back to the in-person that I know a lot of you who are here in the dorms want for your classes. Other questions? Megan?
Here's a question. Will the libraries be open this year for students to study?
Yes, so you can absolutely go to the library. There'll be instructions there on how to distance and everything else, but the library is absolutely open for you to be able to use to go study.
Another one is, if we get tested every other week, Do we have to stay in isolation until we get the results back? How long does it take for the results to come in? And how could we inform our work so they know when to put us on the schedule?
Right, okay, those are both really good questions. So I believe the first wave of students has just been informed about when their testing will start. Testing will start on Wednesday for students in the dorms, right? So not everybody will go on Wednesday because we can only take so many tests in a day. The results for those tests should happen very quickly. Right, within 48 hours. So within 2 days, you're going to know the results of your test, okay? And it's important because this helps us make sure we have a baseline, right? So if everybody in the dorms gets tested every 2 weeks, right, it allows us to know and to notice really quickly if the positivity rate is changing, right? That's one of the key things we're going to do to make sure that we keep everybody safe. Okay? So that's why everybody will get tested. Will get tested every 2 weeks. That's a great question. So if you look on your My Prevea app, that is also how you're going to sign up for those tests, right? So you just walk over. It's a very simple procedure to do. It's not the PCR test that you all see with a really long swab, right? The antigen testing that you're going to do every other week, much simpler, very quick process for you to be able to get done. Yep. Right, so the university has what are called contact tracers. Okay, so in every instance, the most important thing for you to do is to report. Okay, the most important thing for you to do is to report. Right, if you report, the contact tracer can do their work and make sure they're giving you the specific instructions necessary for you either to isolate or not isolate, and why and how and for how long. Right, and so that's where we're going to follow the health professionals' guidance, right, in every case, all right, and make sure that we know the right thing to do. But the first piece of that is you being transparent and saying this is what happened, right? So really important that you do that so that we can make sure we keep everybody around you safe. It's a great question. Yeah. Sure. So the question was if we have a plan for second semester, if things go very well with negative tests. In other words, that we can add more in-person classes in the second semester. Is that what you're asking? Yeah. So again, I know this is going to sound funny to you, but we have literally worked, I think, since the middle of March till today to be able to start classes tomorrow. Okay, sorry, Wednesday. I don't want to get you there a day early. We now know that starting tomorrow, right, we have a cabinet meeting tomorrow, and one of the big topics of conversation in tomorrow's cabinet meeting will be the spring. Right, and I will tell you that we're going to use the same process that we used for us to be able to open in the fall, right, which is that the health and safety of our faculty, staff, and students comes first. Right, so we're going to do everything we can to make your education as great as it can be. And I can tell you from my perspective, right, when we were in the situation we were in March and had to make the decision to send everybody home, I think one of the things that we all tried to think about, right, is if we got this wrong, what is the mistake we can live with? Right? And we would much rather err, right, on the side of caution, right, and make sure that everybody stays safe than to take a risk here. Right? So we will just follow, like we did this time, we'll follow the guidance we're getting from the CDC, from the state, from UW system, from Brown County Health, from Prevea Health, from our own specialists on campus, right, who are medically trained, right, that can help us make the best decisions possible moving forward. That's a great question. And within those, we're going to try to give you the most, what we tried to do essentially this year is to create two universities. Right? We have the online university and the in-person university, and we're trying to run both at the same time.
Why don't you take the fees out of our tuition? And a comment, it shouldn't be the same cost if we aren't on campus.
Yeah, so again, this is a really good question that I don't have a great answer for, other than to tell you, we actually don't control tuition. Right, so the tuition costs are controlled by the legislature, right? And by UW system, right? So we cannot raise or lower tuition. Right? What we can do, and this is really important, right? If for any reason your financial situation changes, right, or you get in trouble and realize that you can't afford what you're doing, is to please let us know. Please let us know. So email GBoss right away, right, and say, hey, I see that in a month I'm going to have a problem, or I see tomorrow that I'm going to have a problem, or I see next semester I'm going to have a problem, right? And let us work with you so that you could persist. Okay, so we have the highest retention rate we've seen in a long time at UW Green Bay from last year to this year, right? And a lot of that is because students came forward, we were able to help them. Okay, so if you need help for any reason, right, please let us know right away, and we'll work with you as best we can to make sure you can stay in school and continue to go, right? And we will keep examining the segregated fee issue, right? We're going to keep looking at it throughout the semester and throughout the year. And just like we did last year, right, when we were one of the, when we had to send people home and we did the refunds that we did, right, we will keep looking at that and do it in the most fair way that we can and still keep the university running. Yep. Can you say that one more time? Right, okay, so we did use what was called money from the CARES Act, the Federal CARES Act, to help support students for their, if they had financial troubles. I think that's what you're asking, right? And so that money has all been given out, okay? So unless the federal government decides to give us more, which we're hopeful will happen, we have our own aid program that we have internally at the university. Okay, it's not as much money as the federal government gave us, right, to be able to get through the spring. But it certainly is a substantial amount that if you have any problems, please come to us, right? So that we can make sure, go to GBoss, and there's a process you go through to be able to hopefully get you some aid if you need it. So even though it's going to come from a different source, it's still, that source is still there. I think we had another question in the middle. Yeah, so we, just like we did in the spring, and I'm really proud of this, this university that did this, is that, we made sure we did not close our dorms. All right, so we told everybody that the safest thing right now for you to do is to go home, right? But for those who couldn't, we absolutely found a place for them to stay and did it safely. And I can't imagine us not making that same decision again, right? We know that many students rely on the dorms as their place to live. Right, and so we will continue to work in that regard, depending on what the situation allows us to do. That's a great question.
Do you want to take a few more?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Do commuter students have to get tested as often as students living on campus?
The theater students, is that the question?
Commuting students.
Oh,
sorry.
commuting students. Commuting students do not have to get tested the same amount as students who are living on campus, right? So I think one of the safest places you could be is in one of our classrooms. Okay, so as long as all the directions that we've got put out are followed, right, then we don't have to do the same regimen of testing for students that are commuting, right? That's important. Right, so they won't go through the same. But however, any student who has symptoms, commuting or otherwise, right? Any student that has any symptoms whatsoever should come to the Wellness Center right away. Call in, right, and you'll get a test. Right, so testing is available for any student who would show any symptoms of COVID-19. We'll take one more. I know that you have the next thing coming up, so I want to make sure I don't cause us to go over.
Sure, and any questions we can follow up with students that don't get answered today. Is there a way to book a private study room?
Is there a way to book a private study room? In the library? Yeah, so in the library is how you would do that, and we have lots of private cubicles that should be hopefully available for you to use. I don't have the exact information on how to do that, but I would assume your RA or someone else, if you're a commuting student, if you'll email the library, I know they can answer that question for you in an exact way. So it's great to be with you this morning. I will just say quickly, please, if you have any questions while you're here, any questions, ask. And keep asking until you get the answer that you need to be able to be successful, right? And that includes all of us sitting right up here. Okay? So no position, no one at the university is too far away from you for you to be able to email and say, hey, I've got this problem. Okay? Start with GBoss. Everybody knows that email, right? Right? gboss@uwgb.edu. Start there, right? But whatever happens, keep asking until you get your question answered, and have a really, really, really great semester and great year. We're really thrilled to have you here. So good luck with the rest of your day and with your semester.